So over here, this is 80 to 90, 71, this is years of age. They had people in their 90s in their study, okay? 61 to 50, 31, 21, huh. What do you notice about the shape of that curve? It's wait a minute, so who gets arthritis?
I had arthritis before I was old. I had it when I was younger.
Do you realize that is what the evidence is showing? Arthritis does not start when you're old. It just gets a lot worse as we're old.
Yeah.
Now here's the problem though. So this, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, you see this 41 to 50, the cluster is really from our 20s to 50s. Okay, so here's the question, wait a minute here. If it gets worse as we get older, wouldn't we expect a trend line to get higher and higher as the years go on?
Right.
Why don't we see that? I don't think that's the right answer.
They've been to a chiropractor.
Well, these ones have, because it happened to be a chiropractor doing the research, yes. But what happened? Why does the trend line look like that?
Less activity.
No, I don't think so. What I think is that people who have bad arthritis when they're young, they die. And they're no longer alive in their 80s and 90s.
Oh, wow.
The only ones who live are the ones who don't have a lot of arthritis.
Oh, wow.
So when I look at somebody's neck and I see a lot of arthritis, do you think it bothers me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The reality is I'm looking at someone whose ability to live long is going to be severely compromised unless we do everything absolutely right. This is one of the things that lights a fire under me every day when I come to work. This is so important. It's not about whether I ache. It's not a matter of, are you going to be alive to play with your grandkids or not? Are you going to be able to, this is really, so for me, the topic of arthritis, especially in the neck, this is a predictor of longevity. And it's like, oh my word. So, what do? So, understand, if we go to the medical doctors, and bless their heart, there are so many caring doctors, and they love, and they want to make you feel better, right? So they are prescribing these medicines in an attempt to find a way, whether it's Mobic or whether it's all these different things they give them. But the problem is, even if they give the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories or recommend everything from the ibuprofen, the leaves, all these sorts of things, 20,000 people in the United States die every year from these NSAIDs. They die of gastric bleeding. It happens spontaneously. There's no indication. This is not a person who had any pre-existing problems. What happens is they cause punch lesions in the gut. And if it happens to be right where there's a blood vessel, remember all the gut, there's a huge amount of blood flow into your gut, because when we eat food, your body has to absorb the nutrients, send it to the liver to be cleaned, and then throughout the body to be dispersed, right? So by digestion has to have a lot of blood flow near the surface of your intestines. But if one of those punch lesions happens there, you will bleed, and it'll be a very rapid death. And Tylenol is the #1 cause of liver failure in the United States, right? So I'm trying to help people, and I don't want to tell you not to take the pills. What I want to do is I want to try to get it so you don't need to take the pills anymore. Does that make sense? That's kind of, I want to, so this is, and I use the term MD stands for more drugs. Well, what does DC stand for? Doctor of Cause. So, what we're going to try to do is we say, well, okay, so how do we address this? All right. So, we've got to deal with the focus stress convergence, right? So, everybody's curved. Some people have straightening of the neck. Some of them, they've got some harmonics. And they've got all different things, all right? But that we'll talk about how we're going to address it. We want to resculpt the curves. We want to change your posture. We need to get some exercise that will focus on flexibility and balance. We need to improve our nutrition so there's decreased inflammation and restore the cartilage, and then the wellness chiropractic adjustments. So, if I lump the focus, stress correction, and curve restoration, let's kind of lump those together. If we talk about the neck, we're going to use reform anything. I happen to use a supine one where we lay you on your back and we use a foam wedge and we pull the head back. There are others techniques available, and there are occasions we try to do it this way and it hurts them too much and we have to use alternate things. There are other ways of doing it. I use a pneumatic device. We can get it just called a posture pump that you can actually pump up. You lay flat, but the bladder pushes and forms the curve. There's a pedibond system where you can stand and kind of pull down on your neck, but the one where you lay on your back and bend the neck back, that's been my favorite. It seems to be favored by most people do really well. Another idea is I do mirror image adjustments. So we take your neck, if your head is forward and maybe tipped off to the side, you'll notice I'll tip it this way and then bring it back and then set the curve. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reinforce neurologically so your brain's perception of where your head is in space is restored, because it's not just a matter of rebending it. We have to then retrain the brain so it believes that that's the right place for it to be, right? Then it will perpetuate it, right? So it is neurological. Another thing, and that gal with the hips and things like that, we also have to address things like hip inequalities. So I always take now, and I love my new x-ray machine because on her, that lady was small enough that I could see both her hips, but that was a 14-inch wide, because this before we had 14 by 17 was the size of the film. Well, now I have a 17 by 17, which is so exciting to me, because for us guys where we've got hips that are a little wider, we wouldn't really quite fit. Now I can get 17 by 17, so I feel like, yeah. So it really is exciting, because we can see those hips. I know, that's all right, that's all right. Well, we can do one hip at a time, so there's lots of solutions. Yeah. Yeah, but we have to address these postural, so when it's not just that the neck is the only thing, but we do have to see if there are skews or flaws or shifting of the spine, but back to the mirror image and then support it like with heel lifts, those sorts of things, all right? Postural awareness. So the next thing is I need to teach you to become aware of your posture throughout your day. So one of the things is to stand with your back up against the wall. And what should happen is your butt and your back and your head should all hit the wall. What people often find is they're standing like this, and then their eyes fly open as their head goes back, and they think they're looking up and rain's going to go down their nose, And it's like, no, you're just getting to where you're supposed to be, right? And it's all back to the neurological perception. We're trying to get the posture rebuilt, so that the benefit of the adjustments, all the work that we're doing to adjust you, and then that you're tractioning for the 20 minutes. Then, if you're sitting in front of a computer doing all this sort of stuff or driving and doing this, you're undoing all the, you know what I mean? So how do we then, not out of obligation or guilt or anything like that, but how do we, from a dynamic standpoint, help reinforce this so all this, so it all fits together like a glove? All right. So that's ergonomic issues have to be addressed. So if you are sitting in front of a computer, like I was talking to a lady, she's got a new job at a dispatch center, and so her neck is sore. Well, so I said, well, what are you doing now? Well, she has 2 computer monitors, but when the client calls, she has to look over at the phone to see the phone number, because the first thing she has to do is 10 key in the phone number of the person, so it will then trigger the database and so forth, right? So she's doing this sort of stuff and then whipping over there, and so I said, well, try to move the monitors closer, maybe raise the key, so she has to get these 2 things so she's not doing this crick. So we've got to address these sorts of ergonomic issues. Now, the fact that you're a truck driver, I can't change that at this point. But when you do stop at the truck stop, don't go and sit and have something to eat. Stand up, move around, right? We need to, right? Because it's going from your truck seat and sitting at the booth of the truck stop. That didn't change anything. You're still sitting on your bum, that sort of thing. So these are the ergonomic. These are ergonomic issues, right? It's related to work. So
I tell him that, but he don't listen.
I know. Well, maybe he'll because he came to the class, so maybe he'll do